Good evening, and welcome to Armageddon Live, Series 2, Episode 38, Structure of Daniel 8 through 12, Part 10, on this 6th of June 2020. I'm your host, Daniel Decrypted. Alright, make sure that the sound is good. Alright. Yes, I missed last night, so there's not a lot for me to say today, but let's just get myself out of the way. And we'll take a look at what I have. Ooh, blank. Wow, that's nice. Yeah, we got a few things I can look at. Alright. Let me go and... Oh, that's not what I want to do. Yeah. Alright, so you remember this from the other last night? I mean, not 2 nights ago. So this lovely structure, and we went through and we showed how we know this structure is there. Right, first we looked at verse 24 and we ended up with this structure that clearly shows there's a split between the 6 phrases. 3 phrases are about sin. The last 3 phrases are about the Messiah, because he's bringing in everlasting righteousness, and he seals up the vision and prophecy, and he anoints the most holy. I mean, only the Messiah could be doing that. Yeah, so then we looked at verses 26 and 27, and we said that there's this strange structure. We have weeks and desolations occurring once in verse 26, and then they occur twice in verse 27. So you have 3 occurrences of weeks, and 3 occurrences of desolation, desolate, which of course matches the 3 phrases in verse 24, right? 3 phrases for the Messiah, and then we have 3 weeks, and then we have 3 occurrences of terms for sin, and then we have 3 desolations. And of course this goes with the whole transgression of desolation. Alright, but then we said, look, there's even more things that tie together. We've got the cut off, which actually is a technical term for making a covenant, where you cut the animal in 2 and you walk between the pieces, and that's how you make a covenant. And so that connects these 2 sides together. But then you also have the mitz, which actually comes from a term that means to cut in 2. Alright, so yes, so this is, of course, this is the occurrences of it that you get in Genesis with Abraham. So where it says made a covenant, it actually says cut a covenant. So you have Abraham cutting a covenant, or God cutting a covenant with Abraham, and then you have, I think it's Abimelech and Abraham cutting a covenant, and I forget what the last one is, 26, 28. Alright, so that's that. But then, let's go and we have this other interesting stuff here. If I can get my mouse around here. And I guess I'll just open this up with alright. What's interesting too, so we had this idea of the cut. Let's go back. Oops, let's go back. So with this, right? So cut off and covenant are connected. But it's interesting that, here we go. Now let's go here. What's happening? Oh, sorry. There we go. Alright, so we have cut off and covenant, which we said forms this. You cut the animal in two and you walk between the pieces. But it's interesting here that when Jesus died, he cried out, and then we're told, Mark 15, so Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "It is finished," and he bowed his head and gave up the ghost. Mark 15:37, John 19:30. And the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom. Mark 15:38. So we have, symbolically, Jesus is cut in two, according to Daniel. And then we have the veil as being split in two when he died. But then we have Paul say this very interesting thing. "Having therefore, brethren, boldness to enter into the holiest by the blood of Jesus." So holiest, of course, is the Holy of Holies. "By the blood of Jesus, by a new and living way, which he hath consecrated for us through the veil, that is to say, his flesh." Hebrews 10:19 and 20. So then what these two images are therefore connected. This idea of Jesus being cut in two and then us walking between the pieces to form a covenant with God is actually the same imagery, or it's portraying the same image as this veil being split in two, and thus we're able to go into the holiest, the Holy of Holies. Now that's according to Paul, of course. This picture is the same sort of picture. When Jesus died, it enabled us it split the veil, thus enabling us to walk into the Holy of Holies. There's another interesting picture I'll put later, and it's connected to the fall. And then you'll understand why Jesus needed to be cut in two. Because something happened in the fall. Yeah, so that's that. But there's another thing that I want to show you too. Once again, it's going to be a very quick thing. It's only one slide, but it's also important that there we go. So if you look at creation, the 7 days of creation, and you compare it to Revelation, you see that Revelation is actually using imagery from the creation. So in creation we had lights in the heaven for signs, and in Revelation 12 we have a wonder or a sign in heaven, and then we have another wonder or sign in heaven. The first wonder, of course, is the woman, and the second is the dragon. But then, of course, Creation Day 4 talks about the greater light, the lesser light, greater light sun, the lesser light the moon, and the stars. And then we have the same thing occurring with relation to the woman. She's wearing the sun, she's standing on the moon, and she has a crown of 12 stars. But then we go to day 5 in creation, and you have the waters bring forth something like birth, the moving creature, right? But you have the same sort of thing in Revelation chapter 13, a beast rising up out of the sea. So the sea gives birth to a beast in Revelation. Then in day 6, we have the earth bring forth the living creature. So it's once again, in this case, it's the earth that's birthing a creature. On day 5, it's the waters that are birthing creatures. But then you have the same imagery in Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. Another beast coming up out of the earth. So once again, you have this imagery of a creature being born from the earth. But it goes farther, of course. Creation, on the 6th day, God makes an image of God, right? He makes an image of himself. And that, of course, is chapter 1, verse 26 and 17. Oh, that's supposed to be 27. 26 and 27. But the same thing occurs in Revelation chapter 13, where they speak of making an image to the beast. Verse 13, 14. Adam, of course, we're told that in creation, in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. But the same thing occurs in Revelation chapter 13, verse 15. Give life or breath, right? The Greek that's being translated as life can also be translated as breath, unto the image of the beast. So the image of God gets given breath in creation, and the image of the beast gets given breath in Revelation. And finally, on day 7, we're told in Genesis 2, verse 2 and 3, the seventh, the seventh, the seventh. 3 occurrences of 7, or seventh. But we have a similar thing in Revelation. The number of the beast is 600, threescore, that is 60, and 6. So 666 versus 777. So that tells you from this imagery is that 666 is somehow related to 777. If 777 is a holy day, a religious day of worship, then you would expect that 666 is also a religious holy day, day of worship. Anyway, so that's all for tonight. I hope this piqued your interest. I hope to see you here again. But for now, ta-ta, until next time.